This week's first impressions video is on Robin Hood Sherwood Builders, which is a RPG survival game with city building elements. It is okay, it's not amazing, it doesn't really blow me away, and there are some things that really do irk me about this game. It releases on the 29th of February, so it should have released by the time this video has gone live. And if you were lucky enough to see me on TikTok, I was testing it out on stream there yesterday. As I say, it's not amazing, it's not incredible. There are some things that it does really well and that I really like, and then there are a lot of things that sort of just bug me and irk me. The voice acting isn't exactly incredible, and some of the accents and stuff that the voice actors use are just weird and don't really work. My biggest problem with the game is that it starts in the wrong place. I don't mean that it starts in the wrong location, I just mean that the placement of the story, it just feels like they've sort of missed all the really cool stuff, and now you're doing a lot of filler, and it just doesn't seem to make it a very compelling experience. Outside of that, I will explain more in detail when I'm playing the game, and first we'll go through the settings, because it's not a bad settings menu, but again, there are some things that they could probably tweak to make it better. Your settings then. Now, this does have a difficulty level, and it does start you on easy, and the nice thing is that you can change the difficulty level throughout the game. You can change it to make it as hard or as easy as you like. I've not tried the different difficulties. Easy seems to just make it so that the enemies are quite far away, and it doesn't seem to put too many in there. I have a horrible feeling that the harder difficulty just means more enemies and doesn't necessarily make them clever, but having not tried that out, I can't say for sure. What I do like is the fact that you can change it at any point during the game, which is really, really nice. You have your language, you've got your compass on or off, your markers, your tutorials, all that good stuff. One thing I will say with the options menu is that to turn it off, you click this box here. It doesn't necessarily make it overly obvious straight away that that's what you've got to do to toggle them on or off, but it is worth noting that if they are like almost highlighted or look like they're a solid bar, then they're on. So a lot of these options are on by default, which is nice. You can have it so your sprint mode is toggle or you hold to run, which is also really nice. And then you can change your combat mode. Again, you can change that in game as well. Dynamic is more of a free throwing, not really targeting or specified on one target at a time. And then you've got your precise, which means that you focus and you do your moves and things like that at a more controlled way. Apparently dynamic is the easier, more casual mode, and then precise is for your more hardcore players. Your graphics options, now you've got your basic and you've got your advanced. What I will say is that some of the things in basic here I would normally see in advanced, and it's nice to see them be separated in this way for a change. The game has windowed or full screen. It does start in full screen. I've changed it to windowed. Windowed is borderless windowed. I don't know why they've called it just normal windowed, but there you go. You got your resolution, and it is a drop down menu, which makes it really nice. You have lots of resolutions to choose from. Your resolution scale starts by default at 85%, and that seems plenty fine. Your brightness is at 1 times. I had a few people on stream yesterday saying that it was a bit dark. For me, it was fine. One thing I will say is that the game is very not colorblind friendly. It is a lot of browns and a lot of greens. You're in a forest, right? So what I would like to see is a colorblind mode being added, because at the minute it is very hard to see certain things, and that makes it very, very difficult. Your view distance is all the way up to ×3. Then you've got your FSR modes here, which are obviously off. You've got your FPS, so you can have max FPS on, you can have your max FPS set to 60, or you can have vertical synchronization on or off. You've got your effects down here as well, so you've got fog, you've got depth of field, and you've got lens flare. You can have your optimization for your grass, shadows, rain, and directional lights as well. Then you've got your advanced. Now you can select your preset here from medium, high, or epic. It seems to be on custom for me because I've changed some things, turned some things on or off. You've got your AA set to TAAU. You've got your AO levels, your AO radius, and your AO quality. You've got your shadows. You've got your environment down here, and then you've got your other graphics as well. So you've got your texture pool size. This runs very smoothly. The one thing I will say is obviously I'm loading it off of my hard drive, which is an old school hard drive, and you do get a warning saying that you will have faster load times if you load it from a more modern, NVMe or SSD drive. It will run a lot quicker, which goes without saying. It is a fairly big game, and the fact that it runs as smoothly as it does and is well optimized like this does make me very happy, but then it runs so well because the textures aren't amazing. Honestly, when you get close to things and stuff, the graphics sort of let it down a little bit. It definitely looks prettier from a distance, so that's something worth bearing in mind as well. Your audio controls, everything starts at 50%, which is really nice. It's not too loud. It's got a fairly nice background soundtrack. One thing I will say is that it doesn't have background music on when you alt tab out the game. It's nice to have that option in the audio just for anybody that might want to have the music in the background if they have to alt tab for any reason. And lastly, your controls. It does have controller support, but to my knowledge it's not on consoles, it's only on Steam. And then you can have your controller character, your controller building and stuff like that. All your buttons look rebindable, and honestly I wouldn't say you'd need to change them because they seem to work fairly well. For me, they seem to, you know, make sense where they are. The only thing I would say is that having E and F maybe changed around wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But they're your options. Like, it's a very good options menu. It's very, very well fleshed out. It works really well. It's just that I would like to see a few more options added in there for accessibility. Alright, we're in the game, and one of the first things I'm going to actually pick up on was something I hadn't picked on throughout the entire time of playing, but the rain comes inside your house. That might be because the window's open, but it seems to be coming through, and I don't know whether there's a way you can shut that door or the window or the skyline up there, but that's a little awkward. Outside of that, this is the game. Like I say, it's not terrible. Like, it looks okay. You can never really look at the front of your character because he always turns around. And there are some interesting like particle effects on there. The flashing from the lightning is a little bit much, if I'm honest. And you have all of your things here. Now, things that you can pick up are generally like they're highlighted this weird color, and then you've got to move your cursor over them in order to pick them up. You can just hit E and hold it, and that will pick up everything in your area, which makes things a lot easier. The problem I've got with this system is that it is very difficult to discern what you can pick up and what you can't. Again, because I'm colorblind and it's a fairly dark coloring. The other option or problem I've got with it is that one of the things you got to collect are rocks and stones, and yet apparently you're only allowed to pick up some of them. You get all these rocks and stones all around the world, like they're all around the forest, they're everywhere, they're littered, and yet you can only pick some of them up. I don't know why you can only pick some of them up, but you can only pick some of them up. Now, one thing I did make the mistake of is I didn't realize that the game actually gave me a stone pickaxe, and so I had to make one, and that's where a lot of my frustration came from, because I was trying to pick up rocks and I couldn't find any to make a stone pickaxe. Now, it's not a bad idea to have two anyway, but yeah, just bear in mind that the game does actually give you one to start with, which is quite handy. This is your area. This is where you're sort of walking around. This is your little village area. You've got your house here, you've got your little well, you've got a cooking area here. You can make a kitchen later on. You can then expand your area, your little village, out the back, and you can make houses, which is going to allow you to have more people in, and then you can make your community focus buildings and your other focus buildings. Also, you need to eat. It is a survival game. If you don't eat and drink, you will die. Right, now after that I have eaten and drank, so I'm not going to die this time, I can continue what I was saying. So, you build your area out here, you can go into a construction menu in your village, and this is where the city builder elements come up. You go here, you can then see all the things that you can build, and it can show you on the screen what things that you need to build it. Now, annoyingly, the second you come off of it, it will disappear off the screen, and this is slightly annoying because there's no way you can get it to keep up there. So you got to kind of flick, see what's there, see what you can use, and go from there. You have a number of different tabs and a number of different buildings. There is a lot here which will keep you going for quite some time, including some decoration as well. One of the annoying things that I've got, or one of the annoying things I've found about this, is that you can move around this area with your WAS and D keys, and you can chop down things and trees to make space for it. However, once you have selected an item to build, you then can't move. I don't know why they've made it like that, but you can't move. So even though you want to maybe put it over here, you can't move closer to sort of position it better. It's really annoying and kind of an oversight. You also have to keep an eye on the food and the workers you've got going, and you know, all of that good stuff in order to make sure that you can actually build and make it work. Once you've done that, you can then go into the buildings and you can start making stuff and crafting things and progressing and making everything work a lot better for you. So as you can see, you've got your furnace here. You can make your copper, you can make your silver, and you can make your brick. You can see what you've got inside, and you can see how many coins it's going to cost you and what you're going to need to do to make it. Once you've done that, you can then go out and you've got different quests and things to do. You do have side quests and random missions coming up on a board, which brings me to my next issue with the game, and it is very much an accessibility feature. You've got this wanted board over here, and this is where you can pick up information about the game and other like odd quests that are just around there. Problem is, the way you do it is that you hover over them and it just takes over the entire screen. Now you can pick up the letter with your E key and that will get rid of it. I don't know why they've made it take over the entire screen whenever you hover over it. It's awful and horrible and I hate it. It makes it very, very awkward, and I don't understand why they've made this choice. It would be much better to just have it off and then pick it up with E and then go into your journal and read it there. I don't know why they've made it just take over the entire screen like this. It's awful. It's a horrible, horrible feature that I have disliked from the second I saw it. Outside of that, you have a lot of screens here, and you can go through and you can see what the quests are and you can see what you've got to do. You've got many, many filler quests in order to get your reputation up in the main area, if you will. So you can do the main story quest and then you can unlock the region and progress from there. It's very much do all these little things in and around, and then you will unlock bits that you can do. You can see all the completed quests that you got down here as well, and then you can see the tutorials that you've got for any that you may have missed or not, and you can go through them all at your own leisure. You have letters here, which are the ones that you've picked up, and then you've got your history to show you what you've obtained, what you've done, whether you've, you know, kicked the bucket, etc. Your health system seems to be with potions that you can craft. Again, you can use herbs and things as you go through. You can make a alchemy bay, and then that will allow you to make health potions on the go. Outside of that, you have to sleep. The problem with sleeping is you wake up hungry and you wake up thirsty, which is why I died when I was doing my first bit here. The combat is pretty good to a point. I like what they've tried to do with it. I just don't think it's very well executed. The sound effects of the combat are a bit The amount of damage you take doesn't seem to really match with your current level, and your bow and arrow is just a nightmare to use. It seems to take a long time to focus in. You don't get to focus for very long. They've almost gone kind of like down a very realistic approach to that, but with your Robin Hood skills, which makes little to no sense. You can hold your breath and go slow-mo for a short amount of time, but against a moving doe or a moving target, that really doesn't help much. And getting really accurate sort of shots in is not helpful. Now, as for the color blindness accessibility options that aren't there earlier, what I meant was that, as you can see, there's a lot of green here, and one of the things that you have to collect is reeds, and you can only get those down a certain section of the river. But seeing them is incredibly difficult. Even with your sight, some things seem to like come up and say that you can collect them when you can't. Like the wheat here sort of glows a different color when you press it, and then you go to it and you can't actually pick it up. And the reeds are incredibly hard to find. I'm probably not going to be able to find any whilst I'm running down here anyway. This is a really, really good game. I'm not going to take away from that. I have quite enjoyed my time with it. I just feel like there's a few niggling things that make it sort of less than it could be. Right? The other thing is, with the killing of the does, the body will end up over here because, you know, it's running, and then the items will end up behind it, which is really weird and not really very good. What they could have done and what they should have done, in my opinion, is once you've killed it, you then have to skin it. I believe one of the Assassin's Creeds did that. I think it was Assassin's Creed 3, where you had to hunt them, you shot them down, and then you would go and you would skin them, and depending on how well you killed them, you would get a greater or a lesser reward from that. I think that would be a lot more fun and a much better way of doing it for the hunting than the way that they've currently done it, which is where the things fall out behind them, and if you're not paying attention, you will miss that, and you will do what I did, which was look at the body of the doe for far too long, trying to figure out where it was that I had to go and what I needed to do. As you can see as well with the does, they sort of run on a specified sort of area, and they never really stop moving, and it doesn't matter what you do, they will run. Like, the radius of detection that they have is massive, and the range of your bow is not that great. It's not that great. It tends to go very low from where you're actually shooting from, and it does make it very, very difficult. And again, the slow-mo really doesn't help much when they're running away, and you only get like one shot out of that. And if you hold the bow for too long, you will start moving all over the place, and it makes it very, very difficult to do it. One of the good things about that, though, is if you do miss a shot, you can run around and you can collect your arrow. You can look for it, and you can collect it, and you can get it back. And that is something that's really, really nice about this. There is a lot to this game. There is a lot to cover on this game. There is mining that you can do, and there's lots of resources that you need. There's lots of different areas that you can do. You've got your mini-map here, which you can move by clicking, and then you've got your fast travel points over here, which don't make it overly obvious that's what they are, but the arrow will sort of go to the nearest point so you can see where the next fast travel point is, so you can always get back. But use your left mouse button to move around, and you can see areas of interest, any quests that you've got, any areas that you need to clear out from enemies, hunting areas, and things like that. The other thing you've got is you've got your skill tree, and these are all your passive skills here. Each time you level up, you get 6 points. That's a lot, but as you can see, the skill tree is pretty massive. You can only move it apparently by holding onto the middle bit here and dragging, and you've got your path of the arrow, you've got the path of the endurance and all this, and you can basically build out how you want. The buffs themselves are not fantastic. They're not like amazing. They are very arbitrary. You know, you get extra carrying points, you get extra damage on your wood cutting, you get extra durability, you get extra health, you can have extra, you know, blocking and stuff. So they're not amazingly, wow, these are really cool, but they're useful enough, and you get enough of them that you can go through and sort of figure it out, and then you'll see what your path is and where you're at and what you're going to be ending up getting and stuff like that. So it's not terrible, and again, I think that's just pretty much the theme of the day with this game. It's not terrible, but it's also not amazing. And that's pretty much the game. Like, you go through, you play Robin Hood. One of the things I said in the intro to this is that you start at the wrong place. And that's when you're talking to your comrades, you're talking to Little John and Friar Tuck and Marion. They start going over all these amazing adventures that they've already had. And I can't help but wonder why we didn't start further back and do those adventures, right? Starting up and building the main house and rescuing Lady Marion and you know, meeting Friar Tuck and doing all that stuff, doing it as more of an origin story as opposed to we've moved from one area to this area and we've already set up and now it's my job to just go and clear out the riffraff, I guess. I don't know. I just feel like it was a missed opportunity and they've just focused solely on getting me to do all the lackey work as opposed to doing all the really cool quests. That being said, I haven't played through much of the main story yet, so I don't know how cool the quests are going to get and how difficult and how awesome and epic they may or may not be. Judging by the combat, though, I don't know if they're going to be all that incredible. But there you have it. This is Robin Hood Sherwood Builders. It comes out today, the 29th of February, and it's on Steam. I been told it's free to play. I haven't seen a price on the Steam inventory yet, but if it is free to play, I don't actually know how they're managing to sort of make this work, because I haven't seen any in-game inventory or microtransactions or anything yet, so I don't quite know how they're planning on making money from it. So I'm actually expecting it to be a paid purchase. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Ciao, ciao.